Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today I'll be doing my Q&A video. So thank you for everyone who did submit any questions or anything. I know it's been a while since I've done a video, but I've got a list in front of me of all the questions that I managed to get, so sorry if I don't manage to answer your question or if I don't get round to it. If anybody wanted to ask a question but they never got round to it, then feel free to message me or drop your comment below with your question, and I potentially will be making another one in the future anyway, especially with the response rate I got on this video alone, so I'll try and fit as many questions in as I can. Okay, so the first three questions kind of tie in nicely together, so they'll be the ones I'll be answering first. So I'm going to do the kind of about me questions first that people have asked. So first question, how long have I been growing carnivorous plants? So I've been growing for 8 years now, nearly 9 years, and what experience got me into carnivorous plants? This is one I've been quite thinking about really. It's quite a tricky one really. I could say that carnivorous plants kind of got me into the horticultural world, because without carnivorous plants I wouldn't have got into the horticultural world, but what actually got me into carnivorous plants is hard to say because I can't really remember. I started at such a young age, but I remember reading a lot of magazines and stuff which had plants, carnivorous plants in, and there was always something that just stood out about them. So on to the next question, which is what was the first plant? And from the magazines and all that, the thing that stuck out for me the most was Drosera. So my first carnivorous plant was actually Drosera capensis, which I had for 7 years, and unfortunately then it died, but I've got all of its offspring everywhere. But yeah, so that was my first carnivorous plant. Didn't go for the typical Venus flytrap like a lot of people do, but that was my first. Okay, so next question, what is my favourite plant? So I'll probably still Drosera as a genus, obviously it's not a plant overall, but yeah, because obviously my first plant was the Drosera capensis, I just kind of fell in love with the sundews really. So I'd say my favourite Drosera has got to be the king sundew, Drosera regia. Absolutely beautiful plants. They are super sticky, really nice, do really well, really easy to propagate from root cuttings. But yeah, they're just really nice to shine, obviously with the mist on the greenhouse as well, or the condensation, just makes them sparkle even more. It's that and between Drosera scorpioides, which is probably my favourite pygmy sundew, so I can kind of class them as separate plants. But yeah, Drosera is my favourite genus, and two of my favourite plants are these two. They're just absolutely stunning plants. But yeah, my second favourite genus has got to be the Sarracenia. Sarracenia though, I kind of have like a yearly favourite, so unlike the Regia and Scorpioides, which have remained my favourites for several years now, Sarracenia seem to be yearly, so if I get a new one, or if there's one that just grows really well one year, then that's kind of my favourite. This year, and one of my new additions, is the Sarracenia Night Sky. So it's only a small specimen, but it has such a lovely, basically black and white colour. So I'll put better pictures of all these over anyway, but it's just such a lovely plant, and I can't wait for this one to grow up because it's going to be such a phenomenal kind of coloration contrast, especially this time of year when you've kind of got the focal point of all the leucophilas, which look really great in winter, and you've got a nice dark cross like this. So as I said, they're my top three at the moment. So next question is wishlist plants. Do I have any plants on my wish list at the moment, and who doesn't? So yes, surprisingly Sarracenia is what I kind of collect mainly, so a few Sarracenia on my list, such as like the Black Widow, the Saurus, or the Hurricane Creek clones. So anything that would be like a really nice white, stunning, even pure white clones I'm looking for at the moment. So hunting down a bit of the rarities, so this year I did get a few of the rarities, a little bit like the Night Sky there. So that's currently what I'm collecting and is on my wish list really. Last question, I guess about me. Most interesting thing that I find about carnivorous plants. Really good question actually. Should have prepared an answer. So yeah, most interesting thing I'd say is how unique they are. So they obviously are a very niche market as it is. Not many people, I guess, grow them, are into them. Can be a bit confusing, especially to people who've never grown them before. and there's just something that there's loads and loads of questions about them, loads of studies, obviously all the conservation stuff behind them, and them just being on their own kind of plant group, which I love researching, and I've put a lot of work into and projects regarding carnivorous plants, because they are just so fascinating. Like, they are such an amazing hobby and something to get into, and you just constantly are surprised. There's just always something to learn about them, and I would say that is the reason why I will probably forever always collect, grow, and hopefully even expand my love of carnivorous plants even further. So yeah, that is the most interesting thing I find about carnivorous plants. It's everything, really. So next sort of questions will be regarding my bog barrels. So I always get a lot of questions regarding bog barrels. There's so many people who want to create one, obviously have them outside, so especially if you don't have space inside or don't even have space for a greenhouse, but you can have a pot or planted container for your carnivorous plants outside, then that's, you know, brilliant as well. I loved making my bog barrels, and I've kind of used them as an experimental kind of basis, really. So I plant different things in them each year, and if the plant really likes it out there, then I keep it in. If it doesn't, or if I just don't like it out there, I'll swap and change to kind of test the boundaries of the carnivorous plants. So types of plants to use. So Sarracenias that are good are group flavas. Flavas are really hardy. Sarracenia purpurea hybrids are amazing. So I've got all my purpureas out there, and they just survive all the temperatures. So last year we had a really harsh winter, and obviously they all survived perfectly fine. I keep them outside all year round. So they had blankets of snow, they were frozen over, you know, the whole thing was rock hard. They are absolutely fine and will survive for all of that. Obviously it's worth me noting as well that I am from the UK, so all the plants I use are for where I live in the UK. Everyone else will be different, so obviously if you live in different countries where your temperatures get obviously really cold, then there'll be certain plants that won't work for you, and if you have like a warmer climate, then obviously you might be having a better range of plants. Same in the UK, even if you live further up north, it might be different to people who live down south, for example. So it's all my opinion, really, or if I gave any advice, would be experiment. So try different kind of plants that you know. So temperate drosera, for example, I use Bonatas and Filiformis outside. They do absolutely fine where I am. I have actually put out, there's some Spatulata and Capensis which are just self-seeded out there, always in the compost or whatever, and they come back each year, but they are extremely hardy subtropical plants. Obviously I keep all my subtropical plants in the greenhouse all year round, and even those in the greenhouse, I mean in the bog barrels, they might take longer to come back, but I found that this year they came back despite all the weather we had. Obviously this will differ in different areas. So some more plants that you can use, obviously in the UK there is some British native sundews such as the Drosera intermedia, Drosera anglica and Drosera rotundifolia. Obviously there's some native Pinguicula as well, so I use Pinguicula grandiflora outside in bog barrels. Again, all do absolutely fine, and they will resort to a hibernacula obviously as the winter comes. You'll find as well in a bog barrel compared to the greenhouse, the times they come up are different and the times they go down is different as well. So the stuff in the bog barrels came out a good month, maybe even 2 months after all the greenhouse stuff started coming out, because it was still colder outside. This is an unheated greenhouse, but obviously it's still more of a protected environment because it's all enclosed, and I keep the door shut in the winter as well. Obviously as well in the bog barrels, because it gets colder and the plants feel the temperature more outside, they often die down quicker, so the seasons are a lot shorter being outside. I found that all my stuff out there, which can form the hibernacula, has already formed the hibernacula, where something like Sarracenia purpureas, which are out there, they will hold their pitchers. Mine all held their pitchers throughout the whole winter, and didn't need to be cut down or produce any phyllodia, which is their winter leaves, like these ones will in here. So yeah, it's all just experimentation. Obviously, what else have I got? I think it's just mainly Drosera, Pinguicula, Sarracenia, which is out there, which has worked really well. I will post a couple of pictures over the top. Obviously there's some Sarracenia hybrids which will work well. I this year have put a Sarracenia Eva outside. That has done absolutely amazing, despite having obviously a Leucophila cross into it. So yeah, that's another nice one. So yeah, all about experimentation. So how to create bog barrels is another question I've got. So my ones are simply they're half barrels which I lined with black plastic, so none of the water can escape. There is no drainage in these barrels at all, so in the winter when you have a lot of rainfall then they will fill up. With mine, because we don't get much rainfall here, I don't have to worry about that. Last year they did get a bit full, so that it was very stodgy to touch, but they're absolutely fine. Some people drill drainage holes up down in the sides of the barrels to stop them obviously overflowing, but I didn't have to have or do any of that, and I didn't have a problem with water submerging rhizomes or anything like that. And as it's outside, there's more ventilation, so they don't rot. So the ones outside I found don't have to worry about water levels. They are like that. They've been out there for 2 years now, never really had a problem. Obviously I've tried different Sarracenia before, which just didn't work as well because they just weren't that great with the cold, but that's obviously why I chop and change. And then they're in here and did really well this year. So winter, a lot of people ask if I cover up the bog barrels or do anything with them. No. They stay outside on my decking all year round, have not moved. Obviously the only things that have moved in them is that I've taken out 2 plants, replaced them with 2 plants, which I do in the spring. So if you're looking to plant one, best to do it in the springtime. And yeah, that's kind of the whole process really. If I want to chop and change stuff, I'll do it in the spring. For example, I've got a hibernacula dictoma outside, and it has gone wild. It rooted like crazy. It's kind of filled up the whole barrel now, so everything that's in there is lost. So that will be, once it forms a hibernacula or dies down to the roots, I will be taking out the remnants, planting in here, and replacing it with probably something that's less, you know, vigorous, something like more anglica, intermedia, and rotundifolia, which I all have in here. So yeah, just all experimentation. I love my bog barrels outside, and yeah, it's something out that I have purely just to leave. They are neglected. Obviously the only things I ever do to them, like I said, change planting, or in the winter is cut down the pitchers and all the dead black leaves to stop obviously anything else. But other than that, that is as simple as. Bog barrels are a great easy thing to do. Okay, so a couple of people have asked questions about my greenhouse. Obviously I'm guessing if people are looking for a greenhouse, people wanted to know obviously the material and how I get on with my greenhouse and sizing, so I'll answer a few of those questions. So my greenhouse is an 8 foot by 6 foot greenhouse, which for me is now quite small because I have run out of space, but that depends on how much of your addiction is going to, you know, expand. My whole greenhouse is filled up with carnivorous plants and nothing more. So I did used to have like fruit and other stuff and leisurely stuff in here. I have a couple of succulents and sempervivums in here which are now disappeared onto the back of the benches, which you can barely see. But no, my greenhouse is purely for carnivorous plants. What is my greenhouse made out of? So my greenhouse is made out of polycarbonate, so it's plastic. So the only downside I would probably say about polycarbonate greenhouses is they're loud, but I guess it depends on how windy your area is. Here it's very windy a lot of the time, so you've probably heard in many of my videos that it shakes, rattles, it's very loud. But on a day like this where it's nice and calm, really nice. Nothing any different with obviously light levels or anything. I found that they've grown really well having this greenhouse. Very sturdy, secure, which I was quite worried about because of the wind that it would blow over, but the greenhouse has stayed for the whole time I've had it and nothing wrong with it. It stayed together really well, so I definitely recommend. If you're looking for a greenhouse, then depends on how big your addiction, but you could have anything from obviously small half greenhouses that people have got against the wall, or obviously they have the plastic containers or whatever they got. I can't remember what they're called, like the small little greenhouse things, but anything like that is absolutely fine. Just to have your collection. Obviously it depends on what species and genus you're going for. If you have more tropical, then they'll be absolutely fine inside, and obviously if you're having more temperate or even subtropical plants, depending on your area, then greenhouse outside or sheltered thing, anything like that is absolutely fine. Okay, so the last lot of questions I'll be answering are regarding dormancy. So as it's getting to that time of year, plants will be dying down, especially if you keep them outside or in a greenhouse, or however you overwinter your plants. Especially all the temperate plants need a winter dormancy in order to obviously grow better next year. Without that winter dormancy, the plants may struggle the next year. You may be able to skip a dormancy, say for example you got your plant for the first time, or you're choosing not to, but only for the first year of the plant. especially like seedlings and stuff, then that's absolutely fine. But as they mature, they need that winter dormancy in order to gain the energy, in order to produce more traps and pictures for the next year. So first question I will be answering is water levels. So in the summer months, I usually keep my trays full of water for about an inch of water, and obviously that is the main rule, is obviously they sit in water all year round. However, in winter it's a little bit different. You don't want them to dry up, so I've heard of stories where people have just let them dry out completely with no water at all, but you still need to keep them moist. They still need to be damp, and when you touch the soil it still needs to be wet. You just don't want it boggy and soggy, especially as that can cause rot. Obviously outside the bog barrels where there's more ventilation, then they're absolutely fine doing that. In here you can get stuff like botrytis or any fungal diseases which can obviously rot the rhizomes and the plants, so I keep an eye on water in here a bit more. I let the trays dry out between watering, and I will leave them a couple of days, especially in the height of winter when it's cold and there is no sun or anything like that. Then I only put water in. Say for example we have a few warm days at this time of year, I'll still be doing it a couple of days by filling up the trays. At the moment there's nothing in there, but all the plants are still completely moist, and that's what you need to keep an eye on, is your water levels and not making them too damp, especially if you're in an enclosed area, and don't let them dry out completely because obviously that will kill them. What to look out for, so stuff like temperate Drosera and Pinguicula, which again temperate Pinguicula, not the Mexican Pinguicula, because they should in theory be kept inside. So anything that forms a hibernacula, which is a resting bud, I'll put some pictures over. You'll find, especially with temperate Drosera, they'll lose all the leaves, same with Pinguicula, and they'll form a small clustered bud in where the crown of the plant is, and that is how they will stay until the weather warms up. So that's nothing to worry about, the plant isn't dead, it's just resting to conserve energy. And with Sarracenia, oh I do have one here, they form what is called as a winter leaf or a phyllodia. So this is my Aureophylla, and anything like this you can cut off, which is their old, this was last year's winter leaves, and its new winter leaves look like this. So I've cut all the traps of this now, but this is basically what most of my greenhouse or all the Sarracenia will look like in winter, is there will be pots of winter leaves which you do not cut off, because when there is days of sun they will still photosynthesize, and this will put energy in the rhizome in order to create, see, better pictures in the new year. So no need for feeding or anything. Carnivorous plants are absolutely fine by using energy how other plants do for photosynthesis. It's just a case of obviously the phyllodia helps photosynthesize and gives them a little bit more energy in the winter, and obviously that also enables them to produce bigger traps the next year. So that is kind of what you're looking out for, is stuff like that. So not dead, they are simply resting. Obviously if you're looking and repotting at this time of year, they're fly traps. If the rhizomes are black, then the plant unfortunately is gone. You're looking for nice white healthy rhizomes, and with Sarracenia it's usually whitey pink, the colour of their rhizome, and that is how you know the plant is healthy if you're a little bit unsure. Okay, and that kind of sums up my question and answer video. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope it's been informative, helpful for those who asked those questions and they got answered. Obviously, like I said at the beginning of the video, feel free to message me if you have any more questions, or you know, are confused about something, or just would like to know. So this time of year as well is an exciting time of year and a sad time of year. So despite obviously all the plants going into dormancy, eventually this all won't be here, it will just be flat, which is quite sad. It's also exciting because one, you're going to get bigger pictures next year, and two, it's the time for obviously seeds. Gemmae, pygmy sundews and Pinguicula, temperate Pinguicula, produce gemmae, which are small little buds from the plant, which is, you sow a little bit like seeds and they'll form more plants. So I've got loads of gemmae starting to form at the moment, which I'll be distributing and sowing in the next few days hopefully. And another thing that I have also been investing in this year is tuberous sundews, which grow in the winter time, so when there's nothing to look at. I've attempted some tuberous sundews, which I checked on this morning, and I've got the first little shoots coming up, which I'll try and put a picture of. They're very small at the moment, and I'm so excited because it's been something I think I've spoken about before, and yeah, so really nice tuberous sun juice, which are a little bit like bulbs that will come out during the winter time, and they'll die down about March time as well. So that's something that I've been looking forward to, and I'm so glad to finally see growth, because they've been one of those things where you just kind of hold up and look at for ages and hoping that something will prop up, even though you know they take time. But yeah, so obviously I'll be updating that, and hopefully been trying to do more videos in the next coming weeks. Obviously it's quite hard now due to obviously weather and because it gets dark so early. But thank you all for watching this video, and I hope you have a nice day.